Nobody's ever seen muscularity on a kid like this. And like, you know, the parents were claiming natural. They were telling my parents, my kid. So anyways, I don't know if you know, but that the guy, his dad ended up going to jail. He got busted for giving his kid steroids.
No way.
Oh,
It turned
wow.
out.
Yeah.
I knew it.
So he ended up going to jail. They had a documentary on it and everything, Leo.
Wait, no.
And the kid now has.
What's up, guys? Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about Little Hercules, also known as Richard. Well, I guess it's Richard Sandrak, also known as Little Hercules. He is the most jacked little kid in the world, or at least he was, and now he looks like a normal dad bod motherfucker. Here he is on the beach, looking quite normal, and you would not really think anything of him. You know, here he is doing an interview with Inside on his, you know, historical, I don't know, bodybuilding endeavors and whatnot. He's still trains, but it's a lot more, you know, not bodybuilding focused, and he also does not have pharmacology in the picture, which is one of the biggest speculation points around why this guy looked the way he did. Is when he was extremely young, he looked like this. This is him doing the splits. This is him doing the muscular shot, the front double bi. Here's him doing fucking karate or some shit. He was on a bunch of TV shows, and he was at the time quite the star. And you know, this is almost like the equivalent of, I don't know, parents like grooming their children for fucking, I don't know, like, what do you call it? Like a beauty pageant. This is like an extreme example of that, maybe, where you have guys literally giving their children potentially anabolics in order to build a ridiculous physique at such a disproportionately young age that it's impossible for them to not get significant amounts of attention and media hype, because it's just like, who the fuck looks like this at this age? So the story is that, you know, he started training at 2 years old, and he ended up, you know, doing, you know, posing for bodybuilding shows and whatnot, guest posing. And the guy was peeled. He actually has a ridiculous physique for his age, I guess. Then there was, interestingly enough, probably one of the first natty or not speculation videos started coming out with guys thinking it's impossible to look like this at this age naturally.
Growing boy needs.
Having seen footage of the boy at age 6, it would be highly unlikely that anyone could achieve that type of physique without artificial enhancement.
So Gary, what was the guy's name? Gary Green with the analysis. You know, it's impossible to build that amount of, I'm just imagining like me in this fucking TLC thing, like it's impossible to build this much super physiological tissue at this age. Like that's literally what this guy fucking sounds like. He's like the OG natty or not guy, division of sports medicine. And I would concur, like the kid looks like an absolute fucking specimen and a half. And here he has the, what is this, his own protein.
Even more probably made those skeptical doctors even more skeptical. And even more, Richard's father, Pavel, tried breaking into the fitness supplement market, which probably made those skeptical doctors even more skeptical.
Yeah, so he was trying to sell products based on his kid's image too, have like protein and shit. And you can imagine, you know, the sketchiness of this. This kid looks like he's on gear. The dad is, you know, training him up at a young age and like sort of pressuring him to do this stuff. And then he's trying to, you know, capitalize on it with these supplements and whatnot.
And even more concerned. Meanwhile, Richard's trainer, a man by the name of Frank Giardin, also became worried about the parental choices being made, so he quit training Richard. Pavel was eventually sent to jail for assaulting his wife. He allegedly broke her wrist and nose, as The Guardian reports. It was Richard who called the police, asking them not to use
I got kind of puffy. I got kind of puffy, and I got not very happy about that.
Despite the problems at home, Little Hercules had plenty of good times too. Here he is at the premiere of 2005's Get Rich or Die Tryin', posing with
So anyways, he goes on to grow up and, you know, become very normal looking.
signature build, writing that Richard looks almost disappointingly normal. He's short with a puppyish face. The article also revealed that he trains 5 times a week, 90 minutes a session, but only when he has to get in shape for a part.
So again, this is almost like Instagram meets reality back in the day, where you'd have guys who are cranked out of their fucking minds, and then if they aren't cranked out of their minds, you know, they're image has been set at this concrete level, and anything less than that, you know, they get shit on. People are like, why do you look so much worse? Like, why are you not at your peak physique? Like, why do you look fatter? Why do you look smaller? And this is what some of the fitness models in this industry actually have to deal with. And, you know, that can be very problematic in terms of actually having a sustainable lifestyle, because you have all these guys, especially the guys in the fitness industry who are, you know, like models for clothing, or like their sponsorships are based entirely on like their Instagram physique and their presence online. You know that their physiques are like, they have to stay dialed in year round, and or have enough pictures and videos like banked up in order to look like they're dialed in year round. And if they, you know, fall off the map, they fall off their routine, they start getting a bit soft, they start getting, you know, shitty looking. If they don't have the personality and or educational information and or some other valuable trait to bring to the table, they end up getting fucking axed. So with, you know, Richard, obviously they, you know, were very used to seeing his shredded physique, and then anything less than that was just like, you know, he'd get criticism. And at the end of it all, he had a very, very normal looking physique and just like lives a normal life where he just, you know, exercises like a normal person, but is never going to look the way he did before because of the lack of hormonal assistance. At least that's what I speculate, and what the internet seems to, you know, sort of cumulatively, the consensus is that he probably did something. Now, again, his dad did go to jail, and one thing I did want to get into is apparently, well, as far as like stunting height, that is also one thing I wanted to get into with anabolics, because it's interesting how he was using, like, I can't think of an example of somebody who's been well documented from such a young age probably using gear and then making it to adulthood and seeing their growth, you know, their stature develop over time, and if he had any inhibited, you know, processes or anything like that. So anyways, getting to, you know, there's been a lot of natty or nots about him. Like, look what this fucking kid looks like, dude. And look what he looks like now. Like, do you really think it's possible at like 6 or whatever he is, he looked like this, and then in his 20s, he looks like a guy who exercises, looks like a dad bod? Like, what the fuck do you think are the chances of that? Obviously, when your test levels are like fucking however many times higher than they were in a young age, everything that you could possibly do for muscle growth is significantly better, but somehow you're losing, you know, your body composition looks 10 times worse than you were when you were a fucking toddler, essentially. Improbable, dude. Absolutely impossible. So anyways, the comment section says his father admitted to giving Richard steroids without Richard knowing. Source, no source. But that is the skepticism, is apparently they used to feed him shakes 3 times a day. All this stopped when father went to prison for assault. Boy lost his six-pack soon after that. Verdict, not a lifetime natty due to juice by proxy. So the kind of theory was that the dad was mixing in oral anabolic agents into this kid's protein shake. So he's not literally injecting him. Rather, he is literally feeding him some sort of oral anabolic agent on a daily basis, multiple times. Like the, you know, multiple dosing schedule is essentially, you know, covered by his protein intake. And that leads to him being able to build this physique and then leverage his son's clout in order to sell supplements and get media appearances and shit. This is another answer on Quora. As a child, Richard Sandrak was subject to a huge fitness regime. His father was militant with the workouts he set him. I think it just came from a sense of wanting fame or wanting to push his son to fitness limits and levels that he, the father, couldn't reach. There are some articles and documentaries that claim his father would put anabolic steroids in with some shakes he gave Richard. Others say he was just very strict with Richard's diet as well as his training. His body was certainly above average, as at one point he was one of the strongest people in the world, leg pressing 8 times his own body weight, which most bodybuilders can't even accomplish. Richard now claims to hate his father. There may have been a series of abuse behind the scenes, which isn't surprising when you think about how crazy his father must have been to put him through it all. Richard now does not go to the gym at all and hates the idea of fitness and working out because he has obviously been put off. So yeah, I guess he doesn't train like a bodybuilder anymore, like I mentioned earlier, but again, you wouldn't just melt, you know, to the point where if you had this good of genes to the point where you can maintain this with, you know, strict adherence to a weight training regimen, like you'd probably look pretty fucking good even if you weren't weight training as a full-grown adult. So anyways, this is the point that I thought was really interesting, is Bostin Loyd has been around the block when it comes to bodybuilding shows and guest appearances and whatnot, because he was involved in actually being like a, you know, guest poser as a child from a very young age due to his upbringing with his family. They were seasoned bodybuilders, and his mom and his dad, you know, would bring him to shows, and he was bodybuilding from an extremely young age, and he was actually around the same time frame as Richard Sandrak in terms of doing these guest posing and whatnot. And I was watching the recent podcast on the Leo and Longevity channel. If you guys know Leo, obviously close friend of the channel. I just did the podcast with him and Steve very recently, the Super Physiological Man podcast, episode 7. Check it out if you haven't seen it. It's on Leo's channel as well as all the clips on my channel. So anyways, this is the non-fraudulent bodybuilding podcast number 14. And the name fucking kills me. So anyways, in this podcast, they talk about Little Hercules, and Bostin comes up with a pretty interesting tidbit of information that you probably, you know, have not heard before. And again, obviously this is not like source verified by Richard or something, but this is sort of what sparked my interest in revisiting the topic.
You guys remember Little Hercules?
Yeah.
Pro hormones.
Check this out. So this is crazy because I used to guest pose for bodybuilding when I was 6 years old, and we were around the same age. He might have been a year older than me. His name was Richard, and he came into the gym that my parents used to own one day. And dude, this kid was fucking. I used to get a lot of attention back then because I was guest posing and shit like that. And this kid came out of nowhere, same age as me, but just crazy muscular, like that. Nobody's ever seen muscularity on a kid like this. And like, you know, the parents were claiming natural. They were telling my parents, my kid. So anyways, I don't know if you know, but that the guy, his dad ended up going to jail. He got busted for giving his kid steroids.
No way. It turned out.
Yeah.
I knew it.
So he ended.
I think the reason he went to prison was something different, at least according to the other resources I was looking at prior. But it seems highly probable that the, you know, mixing the anabolics and the shakes was likely the outcome. And Bostin elaborates on that a bit more and actually specifies which anabolic steroid in particular they were using.
Ended up going to jail. They had a documentary on it and everything, Leo.
Wait, no.
And the kid now has gyno. Dude, he's fat. It's crazy. It's crazy. The kid is just so out of shape now. It's insane. His name is Richard something. Yeah.
Because if you do that to a child without HCG, FSH, stuff like that, and even if it's a child with HCG, FSH, you're going to destroy. If it's child, you're going to destroy them because you could use growth hormone, but you can't use androgen.
Oh, he was on anabolics.
Yeah, that'll screw him up.
Pro hormones probably just tablets. You know, I don't think you said it's a multivitamins. Go take it.
They said it was Anavar.
Ah,
oh yeah.
Oh my God, he looked like he was on some Anavar. That guy's abs were
for
crazy.
sure.
Yeah, so if you look at his physique, like that's now, but yeah, his physique before, like if you were to think of like what does Anavar look like? Like I don't know, like obviously most people who take Anavar won't even end up looking this ridiculous, to be honest, but his physique is definitely reflective of what you would assume. Holy fuck, sorry about the audio there that just popped in. But yeah, like I definitely could see the Anavar being a plausible, you know, thing that was occurring. You know, being mixed Anavar in each of his shakes. Who knows how much? But that definitely seems realistic to me.
Yeah, they said it was Anavar.
And you know what the weird is? Like when I went to school, there were like always like 15 or 16-year-olds that would take oral only cycles, right? And it would blow, it would be huge, a little bit balloony. And then you meet them like 5 years, 10 years later at some reunion party, and they look like nothing. They didn't go through with it. So that's why I'm always a little bit hesitant to start early. You know, if you form yourself as an individual, like Bostin, I'm sure you know some guys that started around your age and they're nowhere to be found in the fitness industry.
Well, that was kind of like me, man. When I was like 17, I was taking the pro hormones, the Mdrol, the Xtane, the competitive edge labs. And everyone was like, holy shit, dude, to this day, this is the strongest stuff I've ever used. Stronger than any steroid I've ever used. And like my bench went up 70 pounds in 3 weeks. But dude, the minute you come off that shit, first of all, I was lactating everywhere.
I remember when you were lactating.
I was lactating everywhere, and I got.
So, anyways, he goes on to talk about his experience with pro hormones and whatnot, and you know, I'm sure a lot of us can attest to the fact that you know, some of our first experiences were not the best compound choices, and it's fortunate that there are resources online now where you don't have to end up in a position where you take fucking M1T from your local supplement store or a, you know, D-ball only cycle for, you know, a ridiculous duration of time, or fucking trenbolone, or like anything ridiculous. Or, you know, there's a myriad of different examples, obviously, that I go over all the time in my, you know, horror story videos, as well as some of the, you know, young teenagers on TikTok and shit. But anyways, good episode with Steve, Leo, and Bostin if you want to check it out. Circling back to the Richard Sandrak, yeah, you know, I'm not surprised if that is indeed the truth. And like I would speculate that to be, even if I didn't have confirmation from Bostin or other individuals who, you know, the consensus was this, if it was like a less, you know, a publicized topic, I would probably speculate the same thing. So interestingly enough, though, the kid ended up being normal looking height despite it. Now, did he have inhibited growth in certain capacities because of his exposure? Certainly plausible. You know, there are individuals, again, on the opposite side of the spectrum, when you inhibit aromatase and or add in concurrent growth hormone administration, you see elevations in, you know, above predicted height growth. So on the opposite side of the spectrum, if you are inhibiting certain processes, you would expect some sort of, you know, hindered outcome. Perhaps not to the degree that you literally stay the exact same height as a fucking like 6-year-old, but you don't, you know, grow the full potential that you otherwise have. You have a premature growth plate closure and or your neurological health. It's, you know, your brain doesn't develop fully. A lot of different things can happen as a result of early anabolics exposure, and it's probably best to just avoid it entirely until you know what the fuck you're doing and have many years of experience training and dieting under your belt and understand pharmacology. Because obviously if you just jump on Anavar at fucking 12 years old or something, you know, the outcome is probably not going to be a good one, I would imagine. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Kind of an interesting, you know, deja vu, you know, getting back to the Little Hercules talk. I haven't seen this guy in fucking since Nam, and now he just pops up randomly in the Bostin Loyd podcast. I was like, oh shit. And hearing the speculated hormone use, I was like, oh, go figure. So anyways, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates.dates. Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic, it's all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home, Gorilla Mind. Nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode, pre-workout formulas. I design myself from scratch. My recommended lab tests and diagnostics. Stay on top of your health. Anything else I'm associated with, it's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.